Here.
Here we go.
Hey, good morning. It looks like I'm a little bit frozen here, but good morning and welcome to
Good
Monday
morning. Looks like you're
Mindset.
coming back though. Back on track. Back on track.
Well, good.
Sometimes you get frozen in our stuff.
Well, let's see if we'll go without being frozen this morning. I may have had too many tabs open. I spent a Sunday on a couch not feeling great, and
Yeah, your back's not. Your back is still bothering you, huh?
yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes I guess it's just that it seems like there's inflammation in the tissues, and just working through that process can take a little bit. And of course, I was really working to do it from a more natural level and minimize the super strong
Yeah.
medicines that contribute to other things. So, anywho,
Yeah.
well,
Yep. It's sort of like that balancing act. How much pain can you take to keep it natural and all that? Well, I hope you've had plenty of turmeric helps with inflammation and cinnamon,
yes, I had
honey,
warm
little
cinnamon and
drink.
honey and lemon.
Yeah.
I've been drinking some tea and ginger tea, both to also help with detox. And the thing that I always am surprised about, since I'm still new to Vegas, is how dry it is here. So no matter how much I consume, what you think is I feel like I consume a lot of water. It's almost like I still need to double that here to have the effects because it's just such a dry place, and I can see it oftentimes like in my hair, or I could just feel it all on my skin that it's dry here after being in the lush, Jamaica Island, where it's just lush and abundant with lushness. There's a
Exactly.
contrast, coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's even a little chilly here in California. I know chilly for us is 70s,
Right,
but
right.
it's cold to us. It gets into like 65, 67 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that cold can kind of grip you a little bit. But actually, it's funny because the really cold is good for inflammation as well. So, getting a shocker of a cold, like a icy cold bath or something like that, that actually kind of shocks your cells and gets them moving around. But I'm hoping you'll feel better in a natural way. Ice and heat.
Yes, yes.
That's
All
also the thing.
all
So
those.
today, speaking about you being frozen, I guess today we're going to be talking about planning into the future because a lot of us get kind of stuck or frozen when we go through things. Like this year has been a very challenging year. And a lot of us probably have gotten frozen in terms of what to do and how to move forward. But we're going to talk a little bit today about how you're going to plan into your future.
Absolutely one of my favorite things, year-end traditions. And with those traditions, I always sort of reflect. And, anyone that knows me knows that I love my books, I love my library, but it's not just because of the idea of the books, but it's because oftentimes I go back and reflect on a book. I'll often reread certain books that have been impactful to me multiple times, or at different times I may go and grab, a passage or something. Recently, I had the opportunity to be creative and think of a gift for a friend of mine's daughter was turning 25. And I thought about my 25-year-old journey. At 25 was when I decided to leave the Bay Area. It was a big move for me. I didn't go away for college because I ended up in business and in college locally. So at the point where there was an opportunity to explore leaving home, I opted to stay because I didn't think that I'd have the same platform. If I were to go to another state, I'd be just another college student, whereas at home I was becoming, recognized as a young, successful entrepreneur. So I remember going to visit a friend of mine at work, and she was working for a toy company. But what she did was she gave me this book called Oh, the Places You Will Go. And if anyone has ever read this book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, it's by Dr. Seuss. I think Dr. Seuss books are meant as much for the parents as it is for the kids in terms of the messaging. And so for my friend's birthday, I was trying to think of, this is the young lady who has abundance. She's lived a very rich life of experiences and international and all of those things. So you would sort of say this young lady has a bit of everything. So what could I possibly share with her that would be of significance? And so I took the time and I picked out, I think it may have been 10 to 12 of my favorite books. And I created a chapter, and then I wrote her a note for each of the books and why I thought the book meant something to me and why I hoped it would be something special to her. So this is one of those that if you have not picked up, oh, the places you'll go, because I tell you, I now give it as a graduation gift. I give it just as an uplift because it definitely put me on a path. And over the years, I've written different notes, certain life events. In this particular one, it was filled with different pictures and milestones, but it's a pretty powerful message. So,
absolutely powerful message. And when Dr. Seuss, when he wrote that book, he actually wrote that book for people to deal with life's challenges and obstacles. He considered this one of his parting pieces for the world. It wasn't for kids. It was for people, adults, to read it and get through and let them know, no matter what happens, you can get through anything. And I love that book too. It is a great graduation present. I have heard it given in graduation speeches, where they twist them around a little bit and change some of the words to dissertation instead of, when you get through this, da, 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 change some of the things to what occurred in school. So a wonderful book to read and an easy read. So when we talk about easy reads, we've given you a couple of good books, and some of them are not as easy to read. But most of the books I think that we've given are enjoyable to read, and that makes them a lot easier.
Yeah, I think it does, because sometimes, it's not that the message needs to be complicated, but it's that the message needs to be received. And so sometimes it's just reinforcement of a message that allows you to really receive that message and then understand how you can incorporate it into your life. And so when I think about these things, it's always this kind of, today is the 14th day of December, so we're winding down the year. And so it's an opportunity to reflect on what's happened this past year, but to really start planning. And because I like to do planning in two ways, I like to kind of document a bit of a plan in a journal style. So I can't wait to get my new 2021 planner. That's always exciting, deciding what is going to be my main planner. I usually have several because I have some, different formats that I like, because I still believe in writing. I like digital stuff, but I like to write too. So I'll have a special planner. That's my main planner. And then from there, what I've been doing is looking at my most recent visual board and look to see if there's something that I need to add to the board that I'd like to see manifested in the coming year. So what about you, TG?
Vision boarding is very important to me, and I missed my vision boarding party yesterday. I had a friend gave a vision boarding party, so I've asked her for a private one. So it's an online vision board party, and it's more getting into the mindset of vision boarding than it is actually sitting there cutting things out and all that. But she takes you through a journey. It's a meditative visioning process where she asks different questions, plays different music with it, gives you some exercises to do, especially within your head. And most of my friends who were at the party, because I was busy doing a photo shoot for somebody, don't ask. But anyway, everyone who was at the party called me afterwards. They're like, I got to go out and get my journal. I got to go get this. I got to go that. And normally I'm the one trying to give people journals for Christmas or give them boards to do vision boarding, but they were all so pumped about it because they did it. And I was surprised at some of the people who got excited. So I'm looking forward to sitting down and doing some vision boarding. But also when you talked about the journal, that's the other thing I want to get together this year is I've used journals and planners, but I don't stick with them. I get into them and then it's sort of like, oh, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that and I'm trying to do this. So I've been exploring a journal that I could use for, a one size fits all, which is not going to work totally. I know I'm going to I have to do this in my life, my house, personal type of things. And I need a work journal.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been looking at Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Journal. And that one is supposed to be really, really good. I hear a lot of people talking about it, but it's pretty expensive. The interesting thing about it and why I think it might work, it's not just a one journal. It's sort of like a journal per month. So you're talking about a book series of how to plan out and do things. And I'm thinking, okay, he's made this so that you really can plan your day on a couple of pages, because you really can't plan it on a page. You leave something off, then you go back and you try to put it in the calendar. And I used to be very good at the Franklin Covey system, which also was a bunch of different, you have to take the inserts out and put them away. And then I remembered that. And I'm like, Franklin Covey, that was how the Covey system was as well, where you had your different sheets and you would take them out each month, and you have your sheets for the quarter in the book. Those have to go out, So I'm thinking I've got to get back into a deeper planner if I want to get some of the things done that I'd like to get done this year. So I'm going to do that. But the other thing I'm really excited about is making my big three commitments. And I encourage everybody to think about, write everything down. I write everything down. I call it the one day, maybe never wall, where I have everything in the world that I want to do. I'm going to I'm going to win a Pulitzer. I'm going to, write books. I'm going to do films. I'm going to go save the world. I'm going to do everything. Write it all down on my one day, maybe never list. And then I got to pick 3 for the year. I'm going to pick 3 really big ones, big, hairy, audacious goals that I want to get done. And those 3 are my commitments. That I plan. Those 3 are my goals, actually. My commitments fall under how I also pick 3 things that I'm going to commit to in terms of how I'm going to get it done. So one is what I'm going to get done, The other is how I'm going to get it done. So one commitment that I know I'm going to choose this year is I'm going to show up and play full out, because I've been kind of mellow and relaxed for a couple of years, not showing up fully and playing full out. I've been playing, and I'm a pretty good player. When I just play an average game, my average is pretty good. I got high averages. But if I played all out, if I really said Pulitzer, that's it, I'm going at it, I would be playing a very different game. I'd be leveling up way different. So one of the commitments for me this year, I think, is going to be to show up and play full out. But you got to be ready when you do that kind of a commitment, because that's like, I'm going all in. This is when I do those long nights and all that kind of stuff. And the other, I think, is going to be to really make decisions that get me in motion, things that are going to help me find the answers, get the things done that I want to get done, and not just decisions that are in my head, like maybe if I did this, decisions that are actionable. That's going to be my commitment number 2. And the third commitment, I'm going to figure out how I'm playing small in my life and how I can take that up and play a bigger game. So I've been thinking about my commitments. I don't know my goals yet, but those are my 3 commitments. And I encourage everyone to get 3 things something about your character, the way you live, the way you walk your life. My play brother, God rest his soul, I can talk about him. I tell people this, and he used to tell people this too. He would go in, I'll give you an example. We go into a Costco. He put some toilet paper under his cart or something on the bottom, whatever. We'd leave the Costco. And then he'd say, oh, look how God blessed me. They didn't charge me for this toilet paper. And I was like, really? So God can't give you toilet paper to wipe your butt? You saying that's the God you have, that God, our God, got to let you steal toilet paper? For real? That's what you're saying? So he would fall out laughing, just like, why do you have to put it that way? As we continued in life, he finally realized and made a commitment that he was going to stop stealing, because he was stealing little ways, petty kind of ways, switch a tag, something like that. And he realized when he made that big commitment that he was going to stop taking things that didn't belong to him or stop trying to justify why he should have it. He was like, when I stop stealing, people stop stealing from me.
Ha, funny. Ha, ha, ha.
It was amazing. So that was like a big commitment. It could be some, that was a small character flaw that he had. It was just, thank God he never got caught. But he had that character flaw. I have another friend that just would cuss like a sailor. They made a big commitment to change their language, to change their languaging, to start putting positive words into the world. And it shifted their life. So think about those things you can do to change the commitments you can make in terms of your character. Do you have any commitments that you think you're going to make, Dr. Bunny?
Well, one of the big ones that I've thought about is, I don't know if you've done A Course in Miracles.
Uh-huh.
It's a year-long commitment. And each time I've started the course, I get into the course and the course starts happening in life, and life really begins to reflect some of what you're doing as you're growing through the course. And I haven't been able to finish it. And so I'm thinking about it, but I also want to be realistic, because one of the things that I know and I realized really coming out of this this last semester, as much as I had great intentions with doing some nourishing and healing, and I did get a lot of healing accomplished, but I think we also can admit that our journey to Jamaica, and even the weeks that I spent in New York before getting to Jamaica, I was still working 14 to 16-hour days. And, when we got to Freeport, we were still we were doing our workout in the morning. I think that's the only thing that different, because of the time change for me with clients. I was able to start my day and do my workout before I did the work, but then I would work all day. And then we would, go into evening, have dinner, and then I would get into homework all night, and then homework on the weekends as well. And that's a pretty taxing schedule. That's, basically a 7-day week grind, with not a day to feel like you really had a break. So that last few weeks where I ended up, just off the grid because of everything, hurricane, all those different things. In essence, it seemed like it was a universe reminder. And so this time I was like, well, once this semester breaks, I'm going to not pack my semester break with too many projects, so that when the next semester begins, I'm exhausted. But I guess in a sense, the universe said no, because I failed on the first Monday. It was a packed day. So it's like, we can't trust you to do this by yourself. So, you will be forced to rest, even though it's not the most paint up or relaxing rest, but you're gonna be still in ways that you know that you need to, but you just don't have the willpower to do on your own. So I think that that's what I was receiving from these last few days, that I need to pick something or things that I can manage within my existing commitment. And, even if I don't add a bunch more, the existing commitment is already a big commitment. So how about I just reframe and feel like I can get back and do an even better job in that existing commitment? So that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Well, it sounds like your commitment might be around balance and really balancing life a little more, because you tried to, your idea of balance was, well, I'm in a good place to work, in a beautiful place to work. And that's great that you got that beautiful place. But then if all you do is work in that beautiful place, then it's just like, you may as well just be at home and just put up a big, beautiful painting or something to make it look like you're in Jamaica. So yeah, that balance part would really be, I'm in the beautiful place and I can work in the beautiful place, but then at this particular time, I'm going to rest and relax. So even if you can get that, think about, since you're in the legal profession, the scales, you know how the scales tip both ways.
Right.
Justice. Give yourself some justice and some grace, so that you have the tip on the work side and then you tip it back on the other side. So you play a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that sounds like good commit. That's a good commitment to start with. So audience, we'd love for you to think about what are your top commitments going to be to those character things that you want to work on, the way you work, how you work, when you work, or how you play, how you live, different things that are going on in your life. What commitments are you showing up? Are you showing up in your life the way you need to show up? And then also think about, where are you playing small in your life that you really want to play a bigger game? And where are you playing small in your business or your career where you actually could step up and play a little larger? A lot of times we play small to make others feel better because we don't want to be the smartest one in the room, or we don't want to be the person who always has to say something. I went to an event and they put us in, you get into these little pods or circles and work with people. And there was a person there who had elevated me and talked about how, oh, Dr. Thyonne is this and this, that, and the other. Da, da, da. I don't even think I was a doctor at the time. And they were just saying, I knew this, I knew that, I knew this, I knew that. So when I got in my circle and they said, okay, so who's going to lead the circle? I did not want to be a leader. I really wanted to just listen to the group. And so my friends nudging me like, come on, lead it so we can get this going. You could help make it go. And I'm just like, I'm good. I'm here as a participant as well. And so somebody else stepped up to lead, and it was awful. It was just awful because they really didn't know the topic. They didn't know how to facilitate a group. Even if they didn't know the topic, it would have been fine because everyone contributes to it. But they didn't know how to facilitate. And I just bit my tongue through the whole thing. And our group showed up like terrible. And people looked like, she was in that group and they came up with that. Oh, yeah, right. I played myself small because I don't know. I think it was because someone had elevated me earlier and I didn't want everybody in my group to think, oh, she's a know-it-all. So I decided to not be a know-it-all and to just go with what happened in the group. Now, quite honestly, I also have to say, now, if it were something that were really, really important to me, I probably wouldn't have played myself small. But this was a group where I was sort of like, I don't have to show up here like that. But at the same time, when we show up small, you never know who's watching. You never know who's in the room. For me, I thought to myself, well, I just really don't have to do this. So it's not a big deal. But it could have been a big deal. Who knows who was in that room? It could have been my next employer. It could have been any person that could have looked at me and said, whoa, she is all that and a bag of chips. But instead, I remained quiet and I played small as if I didn't know. Now, when called upon, I showed up, said what I needed to say. But think about where you're playing small in life and why you're playing small. Stephanie, have you had any occasions where you felt like you've played small?
Oh, absolutely. Because sometimes you walk in a room and you can feel the tension when you enter the space. And it's like, dang, I haven't even opened my mouth. I just walked in and took a seat and, already guns blazing. So there are certainly moments, and especially sometimes for me transitioning out of, my introverted self. So coming out of my head to my heart, a lot of times I'm living more in my head. So it takes me a moment to connect with the people in the crowd or anything anyway. And but you feel energy, and energy is real, and sometimes you feel like you're ready to take it on. So yeah, I'm here, I don't care who's in the room. I'm gonna play all out. And sometimes you just feel like, hey, it's not even that deep today, so I'm gonna give you something, but I don't have to be all out on this particular playing field. But it's interesting because I always say this to not only others, but this is a mantra that I relate to. And it is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I think that in those instances, and it's so interesting because I was listening to Joel Osteen this morning and he was given a sermon talking about, but one of the things that he made reference to is, when you're getting close to birthing something, right, you may feel the greatest amount of pain and the greatest amount of uncertainty. That's typically how it is when a mother's conceived a child, and you get down to that delivery room, you endure the greatest amount in order to bring forth that new life. And so he gave this analogy about how sometimes we're feeling like we're under pressure, and we are under pressure, and so you work through that pressure. But in addition to that, um, realizing that Jesus was misunderstood and definitely challenged and attacked. And so when you think about that, why wouldn't you have adversity? And that thankfully, uh, your adversity can be used for your benefit. So at a moment where you may feel that even I'm in an adverse, circumstance or situation, because I'm not feeling the energy of the room or the space, just reminding myself in that moment that it's not always just about who's in that space per se, but there are people who are looking to see how you show up in any space, right? Because they are kind
Absolutely.
of making a mental note of how you do anything is how you doing everything. And sometimes it's you having courage in a situation is actually giving someone else courage in a situation that you have no idea, the lesson or the stand that you've taken for someone else. And so it's in those moments where it's like, well, don't think as much about what I think I'm feeling, recognize my gut, but also fully hear my gut, right? And make sure that I get the right understanding of what my gut is telling me.
Exactly. And then show up in the way you need to show up. And it's funny that you mentioned being courageous, because that would be the other question I would ask people to think about is when you're showing up small, if think about the question, if you were brave, what would you do instead? And that might mean switching, not just showing up and saying something in the area that's there, but it may mean switching an area, because being brave may mean understanding that, this space isn't for me.
Right.
If I were brave, I would go after what I really want, my dream. If I were brave, I would do this. Think about what you would do if you were brave. And Brene Brown speaks a lot of being brave, daring to be brave. And in one of her courses, she teaches the vulnerability
Mm.
of being brave, and how it takes a lot for you to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm afraid to step into this and to step into it anyway, and to take that leap. So think about, what would you be doing if you were brave? What would you do instead? And then the last thing I would encourage people to do when you're planning for the year. So we talked about making 3 commitments of those character shifts, talked about thinking about your goals. And when you're making your commitments, we talked about figuring out where you're playing small, figuring out what you would do differently if you were brave. And lastly, this one takes you over into the area that I don't usually like to go over into, which is that negative area. But it's not really negative, it's just saying it in a different way. What can you not be? You got to get the no's off the plate too, because we have to know what to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to know about you, about what's on your plate, about what's going on in your life? What do you need to know about yourself to know what you need to let go of? What do you need to let go of, and who can you not be? One thing I realized, thank goodness, early enough so that I didn't have a heart attack, is that I couldn't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
Because
That's
when I was everything to everybody, I was not my best self. So I had to decide who I was going to be. I was going to be the executive director of a nonprofit. I was going to be a great mom, and I was going to be a great homemaker. That was it. I was no longer going to be the person who goes out on the streets, saves all the gang kids from getting into gangs. I couldn't do that anymore. When my daughter told me in her teen years, she was afraid for me to go to work. And when she said that, I was like, what do you mean you're afraid for me to go to work? And I thought it didn't resonate to me where I was going and how I was putting myself in danger, because I just did what I did. I did gang prevention and intervention. We got to go out on the streets. We go out on the streets. It wasn't a big deal for me. I didn't realize how it impacted her mentality, how it impacted her life when we watch the news and hear about gang shootings or hear about violence in a community where I worked every day, where I drove to every day. I didn't realize my child was saying, I'm scared for you to go over there because I keep hearing what's happening there.
Wow.
And so I had to eventually not be the executive director of that place because it was impacting the one thing I knew I was going to be, which I was going to be a great mom, which meant I needed to be here. I needed to show up. I needed to make sure my child's mentality was correct, was right. So those are the kind of things I want you to think about. Who can you not be in order to be who you want to be? You want to be who you want to be. That's that champion. Who do you want to be? Who can you not be if that's who you are? Back to my brother's story. He claimed to be a child of God. You can't be a thief and be a child of God. You can be, but you're not living the best child of God life if you're doing that. And so as he developed, he realized, oh, this is why God says, thou shalt not steal. Because if I steal, people steal from me. But it's kind of reciprocal. I'm not going to steal anymore. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be my better self. So who do you need to be and who do you not need to be in order to move your plan forward? What do you think, Stephanie? Who are you going to show up as this year? You got some ideas of who you're not going to be?
Absolutely.
Maybe that overworker.
Exactly.
That might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about balance for sure. I'm going to strive for a greater level of balance. I can say that that was definitely the gift that Jamaica gave to me, was just being able to have a consistent, ownership of my workout, but more importantly, that quiet time to meditate as a way to begin my day. So that definitely, I got to find a way to ground. I guess I have to walk in the grass, barefoot a few times a week just to really ground, because that was so impactful as well along the journey. Yeah.
Yes, that'll be great. Well, what do we have up on deck for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we've got to have a very special guest. AJ is joining us, so that should be a lot of fun.
Finally, the genie releaser.
Finally. So I know we'll have a lot of great times, a lot of good laughs, and hear what's happening. We have a few things happening with the Los Angeles Black Investors Club that I think we might be able to talk about. And also there is a new show, a TV show that I'm a part of as well, as well as AJ and Shanita, Los Angeles Black Investors Club. And there's a TV show that we're working on that's starting the casting. So I'll release the flyer. They're looking for entrepreneurs that want to have an opportunity to receive an investment in their company. And so it's sort of been described as a show where Shark Tank meets Around the Horn. And myself, as well as AJ and Shanita, are at least 3 of the coaches that I know who are part of the show. And so each episode will be assigned, some entrepreneurs to coach, and they'll participate to ultimately win a cash investment in their company. So it's an exciting project, and
nice.
excited that the casting is starting to begin. So I'll send some flyers out about that for those who are interested. I think it's going to be an exciting opportunity. And then there's also this project that we're working on through the Los Angeles Black Investors Club, where we'll be helping to administer a grant for an artist to support small businesses in the Los Angeles County
Very nice
area. Yeah.
Wonderful. So well, I look forward to seeing AJ tomorrow. This will be a fun show tomorrow because I just love her energy.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I will catch you then. And you guys remember to join us again tomorrow, 8 a.m. for Money and Mindset.
All righty. Well, everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here, same place, same time.